My internship consisted of working in the compliance office for athletics at Oakland University. There, I coordinated athletic rules and NCAA compliance for Oakland, their Division I intercollegiate athletics program. This involved interpreting NCAA bylaws, using NCAA compliance software, communicating with coaches, staff, student athletes, completing eligibility certification processes, recruitment supervision, assisting in waiver processes, reporting violations, visits to practices and competitions, and also athletics financial aid interpretations. On a case-by-case basis, I also shadowed the athletic academic advisor, as this was one of my future career aspirations. I answered directly to the assistant AD for compliance, and the compliance office in general falls under the Oakland University compliance jurisdiction, even though it's still in the athletic department. So my role coming in January quickly changed from the start, as just before I began my internship, the compliance coordinator left that position for another role on campus. So even though he left tutorials on many processes, I still needed a lot of mentoring from the assistant AD for compliance. However, this actually benefited me greatly because it allowed me to learn, I guess, a lot faster than I would have in being able to go a little bit more independently and taking more responsibility within the compliance office, serving as basically a volunteer interim compliance coordinator until about mid to early April. I definitely contributed to the athletic department's operation and goals by essentially filling the role of that compliance coordinator. A main focus of the department's operation is to comply with all NCAA bylaws. So the department goals also included being knowledgeable, welcoming, and innovative. And so I learned all I could within compliance topics to become knowledgeable, worked cooperatively with staff and student athletes, and also presented new ideas when necessary. As far as looking at an analysis of the organization, the athletic department's different experiences with cultural, social, and political environments, looking at how effectively they deal with each of these topics, and also preparedness for this internship. I'll start with first the cultural, social, and political categories that apply or did apply to this environment. So as far as cultural environment goes, the athletic department is culturally diverse, both with its staff, administration, and student athletes. So it's dealing with actually very diverse student athlete population, and as even a greater part of the diversity among the general Oakland University campus. So I feel that along with campus initiatives and athletic department response, they respond well to promote cultural acceptance and pride. As far as social issues, the social aspects that I feel played a large part in the athletic department is the great range of social situations faced by staff and student athletes. Also, the variety of social differences among groups of people within the department. Staff and student athletes are coming from all sorts of social backgrounds, family, life experience, and especially dealing with different socioeconomic statuses within compliance as far as financial aid goes. That's also something that Oakland handles very well. Political, I think, is probably the largest category that the compliance and overall athletic department would have to balance. And so it's really a twofold category, because there's those associated with the institution itself as far as how politics work with the athletic department, and then also politics involving NCAA. So the athletic department has to remain an entity under the university institution overall, and really work hand in hand with many campus groups, including the office of the president. So this, of course, will cause issues occasionally, but I feel like the relationship with athletics and the campus as a whole is growing in a positive direction from what I saw. The political relationship with the NCAA is similar, as the athletic department is also a Division I school under their jurisdiction. So the athletic department has very few violations, and these are minor, really with no other disciplinary action given other than staff education and letters of admonishment. So they're doing a nice job politically with the NCAA as well. And then lastly, in this section, looking at my preparedness for this internship, I felt quite prepared as far as the coursework within the sports administration program at Wayne. I feel like the intro course really got me kind of hit the ground running with that and helped me to get a basis for my other coursework that then led into the internship. I took a course on collegiate athletic administration over the summer, and also principles of coaching was another helpful class. In addition to that, marketing in the fall helped me to prepare as well. And so as far as something that maybe I needed more of, I felt perhaps in the collegiate athletic administration course that I took, there could have been maybe more emphasis on NCAA compliance, since it's such a big category within collegiate athletics. But I don't think you can ever be prepared enough to take a role in compliance, because it's just so in depth and there's so much to learn. So it's really learning while doing. So overall, I felt prepared for this role, not only because of my sports administration program, really also other professional experiences that I've had. Next is an evaluation of my experience. So looking at my learning objectives, did I meet them? How successful was I? Was the internship overall satisfying, and what I learned, and just looking at the overall educational experience of the internship. So I found my experience to be extremely valuable and satisfying. The athletic department at Oakland University has worked very hard in the last few years to develop strong leadership and an exciting culture. So they've had a lot of different role changes and staffing changes, but I think that that has helped for the better. So the staff and administration are welcoming and knowledgeable. I'll try to briefly summarize my learning objectives, but they were quite in depth. So my first learning objective seems simple, but it's actually the majority of what you would do in compliance. So it's really mastering the day-to-day compliance operations. So looking at comp ticket lists and CARA logs, recruiting logs, official visits, unofficial visits, different types of forms requested by coaches or student athletes. And so there can be lots of different categories that this falls under. So basically where I would start with that as far as a tactic was using the NCAA Division I manual, any ed columns that I could get on, any interps that were sent perhaps by the NCAA or the Horizon League compliance offices. Definitely a lot of shadowing of my supervisor, asking questions whenever special scenarios would arise, interpreting those together. And eventually it did come to the point where I didn't need to supervise or need to be supervised so much at all with these tasks, so I became the lead point person for a lot of these day-to-day compliance tasks. So that was my first objective, so I did meet that successfully. Secondly, my second objective was to learn and continue to improve my proficiency with NCAA application software. So that's broken down into different sections. So basically there's 4 main softwares that I wanted to focus on that are really great tools for compliance. And so that was Compliance Assistant, so tracking all of student athletes' personal information, their academic information, financial aid information, squad lists, rosters, everything like that. Next was LSDBI, so that would help me to look at current legislation, proposals, interps, ed columns, and also NLI information. Third is RISRO, and so that is looking at past legislative decisions to be able to build waiver cases. So that I learned how to use quite well. And then lastly, Eligibility Center, which is the old clearinghouse of the NCAA. So looking at accessing teams' IRLs and looking also at initial certification or even transfer certification of prospective student athletes. So all of those softwares, very helpful, and I became proficient in all of them. Thirdly, my objective was to create and increase communications with compliance education, giving that to the staff, coaches, and student athletes, and even the public. So I did that by creating monthly e-newsletters to staff with current compliance issues and other compliance topics within the athletic department. And I also used the compliance Twitter page, so I took that page over and was able to post there as well. Fourth is the completion of an NCAA waiver application and also initial academic certification of a prospective student athlete. So these are two different processes that I saw happening quite a bit, and I wanted to be able to take those over as well. So I was taught the process by my supervisor. I monitored waivers applications. I went through the whole approval denial process through LSDBI, worked on several waivers while I was there, and I also completed, though very different than waiver cases, the initial academic certifications for both undergraduate admissions, so for freshmen coming in and also transfer students. So I was able to perform full academic reviews to see their eligibility, what kind of core courses that they would need to yet complete before they were admitted or even considered for different categories of NCAA eligibility, whether it was a academic red shirt or full qualifier. I was able to do those as well. And lastly, non-compliance related objective, but still very important to me, was to learn and assist in the process of athletic academic advising. So I also helped with class registration for student athletes in March, where they then registered for the entire next year of academics. So I was able to attend training sessions with the athletic academic advisor, and then also during registration for student athletes in March, I was able to help supervise a mass registration in various computer labs. So in addition to that, I would sit in on other meetings with student athletes, advisory meetings, and go over course schedules and find different classes for them. And so that was also very valuable. So I was able to complete all of these objectives using all the tactics that I talked about, and even some additional that weren't on my objectives list. I was unsure which category my athletics degree would be most useful for, and so I also was looking for what would be my future career. So I can confidently say that at the end of this internship, my best opportunity and my most fulfilling opportunity would be at the collegiate level. That would be where I would think I would belong as far as the spectrum of where I would use my sports administration degree. So I would suggest starting in compliance really if anybody is interested in aspiring to work at the collegiate level. Not saying that that's where I would actually want to potentially work in the future. However, I think it's valuable because I now realize that compliance touches everything in the collegiate level. So it's a phenomenal way to learn the ins and outs of collegiate athletics by starting at the bylaws and looking at what the NCAA has to offer and then branching out from there. So it's a really great place to start and learn and network with people. So I do hope to use this experience, but also look even more further into the experience I gained from the athletic academic advising. That role seems to fit a bit better with my educational background, being a former teacher. This student athlete services, I think, speaks to me a little bit more than compliance. However, again, compliance, a great place to start if you're looking at collegiate athletics. Lastly, I'd like to thank Oakland University for the opportunity as far as in the athletic compliance office and all of the help and guidance that their staff has showed me along the way. And also a special thanks to Laurel Whalen and the entire Wayne State University Sports Administration program for helping me through my master's process. And I'm excited to earn that degree soon and put it to use.